Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. I'm finding it odd putting the show together today. First of all, nobody's really announcing anything, news cycle and stuff. That makes sense to me. But also, as I'm recording this, none of the big comedians have said anything, like nothing at all. Very strange to me. It was a news cycle where people were out and about and everybody's hiding out today. I don't know what's going on. Very strange. I deep dove on Threads and Twitter, found some stuff, but not from the majors. Did you see this fake Melania thing? So from time to time, a woman appears standing next to Donald Trump, who is ostensibly Melania Trump. And sometimes people on the internet, myself included, look at the person and are like, is that Melania? Is that a Secret Service agent in big glasses? Is that somebody from Trump's press team? I saw some tweet that named the person. Or is it actually Melania? On election night, there were many of us, I'll raise my hand, that thought fake Melania was out and about again. Gianmarco Cerezi tweeted, or threaded, whatever it is. What do you do on Threads? I guess he threaded. Whatever actor that played Melania is texting her friends right now like, I got bumped up to a recurring. Comedian Dan Wilbur threaded, at least we never have to vote again. Jim Chews, oh no, he's going to make Skankfest a national holiday, isn't he? Someone who goes by Thick Frogleg tweeted, I haven't seen a man beat a woman this bad since the Olympics. Comedian Matt Ruby, Democrats should figure out how to make a podcast that appeals to men who like sports. Michael Ian Black is not hiding out. He wrote on his very good Substack, time and again, people like me have been wrong about our fellow Americans. Those Americans have told me, time and again, that I live in a Hollywood bubble, despite the fact that I live in Savannah, Georgia, and that I don't understand the problems of regular folks like them, despite the fact that I come from fairly modest circumstances myself. Time and again, I've dismissed these people's opinions of me because I didn't want it to be true. Turns out it was true. If this is who regular folk want to lead them, then I really don't understand it at all. Skipping ahead, he wrote, are we more of a union today or less? People like me believe one way. We're wrong about everything else. I hope we're wrong about this one, too. Send your letters to Michael Ian Black. Or about that weird thing with Jon Stewart and John Fetterman. Apparently, Stewart on the show said, Fetterman was unable to join us, but because we are a professional and venerated news show, it's not like I just have to sit here with nobody to talk to or nothing to do just because somebody said no 30 seconds before we were supposed to have him as a guest. In non-political news, Bert Kreischer will serve as Florida State University's Homecoming Parade Grand Marshal. Kreischer is a 1998 graduate of the College of Arts and Sciences, where he studied creative writing in the English department. The Homecoming Parade takes place Friday, November 22nd at 2 p.m. and will celebrate the 45th anniversary of the Homecoming Parade, we're told, with a vibrant display of school spirit, creative floats, and a performance from the world-renowned Marching Chiefs. The parade is one of the week's most anticipated events. Paul Reiser is not afraid of news cycles. I saw this on election night. I was like, what are you doing? Really? Now? He's got a new special out on Comedy Dynamics. It'll be out the 19th, actually. It's called Life, Death, and Rice Pudding. In Life, Death, and Rice Pudding, Paul Reiser discloses the secret to successful downsizing, explains why the whole do unto others thing doesn't work in marriage, and why boiling pasta naked is never a good idea. The copy adds, and for absolutely no additional charge, you will come to understand why finding raisins in rice pudding underscores the very meaning of life. Okay. Baltimore Magazine spoke to Stavros Halkias. He started about his movie, Let's Start a Cult, which is already going to be available on video on demand starting November 12th. Stavros said, I'll be honest, it's really bizarre. I've never had to be passive and just kind of let a movie come out. With stand-up, especially when you're performing, you're so in the mix. You can worry about things because you have to do the show. This is the first time I've ever made something and it's a finished product, and then watched it at premieres and not been able to change it, make little tweaks. Baltimore Magazine said, I don't think this is a spoiler, but you're shirtless in several scenes and bottomless in one. To worry a little bit about being naked? Stavros said, who do you think wrote those scenes? Do you think anybody else asked for that but me? The director wasn't begging me. I'm not Sydney Sweeney. My nudity wasn't going to sell. But I didn't know if I was going to get a chance to make another movie. I think one classic comedy trope is a really over-the-top kind of sex scene that's played for laughs. I do a nude calendar every year. It becomes absurd when you swap out a hot woman for a fat guy. You see how ridiculous, how overly sexualized a lot of media is. And I thought putting me in the middle of that is going to be funny. So no trepidation. If anything, I was the one asking for more nudity. So I'll do it straight here. On Thursday, my plan was to teach my college class, which means I have pre-recorded Friday's episode. It's still timely, but I won't talk about the election. We'll dive in on Saturday more about the election. I'm sure you don't mind the break. The New York Comedy Festival kicks off tonight. As I've said in the past, it's a fantastic festival. They've been nothing but good to me, but I do think New York City's too big and this thing disappears. And given the current mood, I'm not sure this is going to pop. We'll see. Happy to be wrong. Tonight, 6 o'clock at NYCC East Village, Chris DiStefano. Then Chris is going to haul it over to NYCC Gramercy for the same show at 7 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, Dead Funny, an all-star tribute to Joan Rivers. I'll talk about that in a second. That's at the Apollo. Then Chris DiStefano is going to hop on the subway and go to NYCC Upper West Side for another show at 9:30. And we're just getting started. This thing will go on for another week. All right, the Joan Rivers show at the Apollo is titled Dead Funny. It will feature Nikki Glazer, Michelle Buteau, and many more. Caroline Hirsch, who used to own Caroline's Comedy Club and is the festival founder, said the idea was Melissa Rivers' idea. Here's how it works. Caroline says they're going to take Joan Rivers' cards. Joan had a library of written jokes. I worked with Joan at WOR Radio 2001. It definitely was 2001 because I remember we were talking about not just 9/11, but there was that whole anthrax thing. I remember producing a lot of shows with Joan when the anthrax thing was a big scary thing. And yep, she worked with cards, saw it with my own eyes. Caroline said, we're going to take all of Joan's cards. She wrote everything on index cards, and she had a big cabinet of them, which she gave to the National Comedy Center in Jamestown, but we weren't going to do a show with that. Melissa had the idea, get Joan's foul-mouthed friends, admirers, and 1,500 fans together for a night of inappropriate laughs. Caroline said it's a lot of comedians who Joan was really close with. The lineup includes Sandra Bernhard, Patton Oswalt, Mateo Lane, Jeff Ross, Randy Rainbow, and Rachel Brosnahan, who starred in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I'm looking at that list and the ages of everybody and my personal relationship with Joan Rivers, who, believe me, we talked about booking people on the show, and Joan told me, I don't really know anybody. I don't really have celebrity friends. So, look, Caroline hangs around comedians way more than I do, and I'm not here to say that these people weren't great friends with Joan Rivers. I don't know. I'm just looking at it going, yeah. But who knows? Maybe when I stopped working with Joan, she became really tight with Patton Oswalt. I don't know. Caroline said, I remember watching her when I was a kid on Johnny Carson, and I can't believe what comes out of this lady's mouth. No filter. That's what comedians do. There was no filter on Joan ever, ever. All right, Caroline, who else in the festival are you excited for? She said, Zorna Garg. We got a call one day because Hillary Clinton and Chelsea Clinton were producing a series called Gutsy about gutsy women, and the producers called us and said, could you suggest some comedians? And we suggested Zorna. Also in the festival, November 11th, the annual Stand Up for Heroes show with Jerry Seinfeld, Jon Stewart, and Jim Gaffigan. Wonder what they'll talk about. Bruce Springsteen will be there with the comedians. From recent history, having Bruce Springsteen on stage with you doesn't guarantee that you win an event. You know what I'm saying? Nudge, nudge. Caroline said, he's going to leave his tour to play here. That's how good he's been. And Patty's going to do it too. I love that she tagged it with Patty. I'm a Springsteen fan, and Springsteen fans, I'm sorry, we just make fun of Patty because you go see a show and sometimes Patty's there and sometimes not there. Sometimes Patty's the fifth guitarist. Sometimes there's no fifth guitarist. I can't tell the difference between the two shows, but Patty's going to do this show too. You're making friends today, John, aren't you? Yeah, I know. I can't help myself. And since it's a little bit slow and no one's announcing anything, let's look at Vulture's annual list of the comedians you should and will know. One of those comedians, Rekha Shankar. Rekha says, Tim Robinson is my favorite comedian. I love it how he always feels like he's being himself, and he continues to reinvent the world of sketch characters and comedy by just experimenting and not caring if it's too weird. I think sometimes mainstream audiences are too quick to pass over comics like that, and they never get a chance to cook and try more and eventually find their niche. And I'm so grateful he has gotten to do all that. Sam Richardson, too. God, he's so funny. I also love Quinta Brunson. I love that she has a background in working on the internet, as so many of us do, and parlayed those skills into professional sketch writing and then eventually her own incredible TV show that she stars in. All right, what was your worst show? She said, my indie improv team and I once performed a set for a youth group in Long Island at a hotel ballroom. There were teenagers who went on this retreat every year, and on the last day, a magician would do a show, but this year, we replaced the magician. The teens filled the room and saw their beloved magician was not there and was replaced by random 20-something-year-old improvisers, and they became sad. They sat down, then one of the hosts announced that, now improv! We tried to explain what that was, but I don't think they wanted to hear it, and maybe we were also nervous and weird. All their suggestions were weird sexual slang that we didn't understand and would ask what it meant, and they'd laugh and didn't explain. Then we started performing. They were either talking the whole time, we had to shush them, or they would imitate our object work from the audience to make fun of us. We left the moment the set was over. And that is your comedy news for today. Hey, if you would like this show without commercials and you're on Apple Podcasts, there's a banner there that's telling you like commercial free, says something like that. So you click on that. And then for 30 days, you can get this thing commercial free. Free trial. Why wouldn't you do it? After that, it's $4.99 a month. You get this show and 20 plus others on the network, including 5 Good News Stories, which I host Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and this time of year, Saturday. We're doing Christmas stories on Saturday. If you're not on Apple Podcasts, can't hook you up with a free trial. Why? Long story, but you can get the show without commercials. Link in the show notes using a back-end thing called Supporting Cast, which is a really fantastic service. So, go commercial free. It's another great way to support the show. Speaking of supporting the show, if you go to buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews, after election night, because I was up till 3 a.m. and then got back up at 6 to make the shows, I got 2 large iced coffees. I went with my usual caramel with milk, which is good. And, I figured, all right, if you're getting 2, it's a good time to experiment. So I got the peppermint mocha they've been pushing. Pass. Don't do that. It sounds like a good idea. It's just not good. All right, see you tomorrow.